it's definitely fun for us. It's fun for a lot of fans in the Midwest that, cheered us on when we were in college. Right there to congratulate me or just be somebody that's offered advice. So to pass somebody like her, I'm just forever thankful that she's been such.
The Indiana Fever just blew up their own team. They fired Coach Sides after their first playoff appearance since 2016. That's like finally getting your crush to notice you and then deciding to move to another country. It makes no sense. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. But here's the kicker. This might actually be a genius move. Yeah, you heard that right. The Fever aren't just shaking things up, they're setting the stage for something huge. We're talking about a plan so wild, it could change the entire landscape of the WNBA.
You can tell they're just there for good basketball. They're almost cheering for both teams, it feels like. They're all standing up there at the end. We've honestly struggled to guard this team, and I think it just speaks to their offensive firepower that they have, like Enrique and Sabali's really good. And then we
Want to know what's really going on behind the scenes? Remember when the Fever were celebrating their first playoff spot in years? Yeah, that feels like ancient history now. It's crazy how fast things can change in the WNBA. 1 minute you're popping champagne, the next you're scratching your head wondering what just happened. The Fever's 2024 season started out like a fairy tale comeback story. They were finally back in the playoffs after 7 long years of struggling. Fans were ecstatic, the energy in the arena was electric, and it seemed like the start of a new era for Indiana basketball. Caitlin Clark was living up to the hype, Nalissa Smith was dominating in the paint, and Coach Sides seemed to have found the perfect formula for success. But here's the thing. Something wasn't right behind the scenes. There were clues that we all missed, little signs that things weren't as rosy as they appeared on the surface.
She kind of bobbled the pass and then got an and one, missed the free throw and we came up with it, and then Kel scored. I think that definitely gave us some confidence and allowed us to kind of settle in, and we just continued to work and get better and be positive. And that's probably easy with a young group. Like obviously we got some young players, but our vets were really good too.
Let's break it down. First, there were Caitlin Clark's cryptic comments after games. You know how rookies usually stick to the script. All we're taking it one game at a time, and I'm just happy to contribute. Well, Clark started dropping some weird hints in her post-game interviews. She'd say things like, "We're winning, but we could be doing so much more." Or, "I'm still adjusting to the system." What was she really saying? It's like she was trying to tell us something without actually saying it. Then there was the team's late season slump. They limped into the playoffs, losing 4 of their last 6 games. At the time, we all chalked it up to fatigue or maybe just a rough patch. But now, it's clear that was a symptom of a much bigger problem. Here's the kicker. Coach Sides' firing wasn't just about wins and losses. It was about vision. The Fever's front office wasn't just looking at the playoff appearance, they were looking at the ceiling. They saw a team that made the playoffs, sure, but were they really a championship contender? The answer apparently was no, not with the current setup, and get this. After Sides got fired, he posted this cryptic tweet. "Sometimes the hardest decisions are the right ones. Onwards and upwards."
I thought the game was really fun. Obviously, once we got it to 8, I wish we could have kept that a little bit better. We didn't execute really. It's fun to kind of look back. Like people always ask me, like, what's your favorite road arena? And I'm like, they're all so different and unique in their own way. And
what's the real story there? It almost sounds like he knew this was coming, maybe even agreed with it on some level. This coaching change? It's just the tip of the iceberg. The Fever are playing 4D chess while the rest of us are still trying to set up the board. They're not just trying to be good, they're trying to be great. They're looking at teams like the Aces and the Liberty and saying, that's where we need to be. So yeah, it looks like panic from the outside. Firing a coach after making the playoffs for the first time in forever? That's wild. But the more you look at it, the more you realize this isn't panic. This is ambition. The Fever are done with just being happy to be here. They want rings, they want dynasties, they want to be the team everyone else is chasing. Buckle up, Fever fans. This ride is just getting started, and it's about to get real interesting. You think the Fever's moves so far are wild? Hold on to your seats, because they're just getting warmed up.
Get those paint touches. Anytime you've got a Leah Boston, Alyssa Smith down there, they're going to draw attention, and when they get that attention, these guys who are great shooters are left wide open.
It's an inside here, and hopefully we can bring the playoffs back here for a few times for them as well.
Yeah, this is the last game of the regular season, but fingers crossed.
What if I told you their master plan involves bringing back a familiar face that could change everything? The Fever aren't just shaking things up, they're going all in on a championship run. This isn't about making small improvements or taking baby steps. No. The Fever are swinging for the fences, and they're not afraid to take some big risks. To get there, they've made it clear they're not content with just making the playoffs. They want to be the team everyone's chasing. But here's the thing. This move could backfire spectacularly.
This was our last regular season one at home. You know, it's fun. It's on the weekends, an afternoon game. Like, those are just better. That loves to work, so it won't be hard for me to want to get in the gym and to get even better. And
Some insiders are biting their nails, worried that the Fever might be moving too fast. Think about it. They just made the playoffs for the first time in years. Most teams would build on that, right? Not Indiana. They're tearing it all down and starting over. It's like they're playing with fire, and if they're not careful, they could get burned. Let's talk about the free agent market, because this is where things get really interesting. The Fever are eyeing some big names, and it's not just wishful thinking. They've got the cap space to make some serious moves, and they're not afraid to use it. But here's the kicker. They've got to be smart about it. With key players like Kelsey Mitchell hitting free agency, they need to balance bringing in new talent with keeping their core intact. Now here's the bombshell: Stephanie White might be coming back to save the Fever. Yeah, you heard that right. The same Stephanie White who played for Indiana from 2000 to 2004, coached them to the finals in 2015, and just won Coach of the Year with the Sun. She knows this team inside and out, and her Indiana roots run deep. If she comes back, it could be a game changer. And let's not forget about the Caitlin Clark factor. Her rookie season was insane, but year 2, it could be legendary if the Fever play their cards right. Imagine Clark with a coach who really knows how to maximize her talents, surrounded by elite free agents who can take some of the pressure off. We could be looking at the birth of a superstar.
Great, just really they had a hard time getting going. But Lexi defensively, and then like Caitlin said, had that big shot at the end, but then also
I had a few in and outs. I'm like, man, how's it not going in? But I felt like I played a good game. My shot felt well. I thought we could have moved the ball.
Speaking of free agents, are the Fever about to land a huge name like Sadu Sabali? The rumors are flying, and Sabali's been dropping hints on social media that she might be interested in joining Indiana. If they pull that off, watch out, WNBA. The Fever are playing a dangerous game, no doubt about it. They're risking everything on this all-or-nothing strategy. But if it works, we might be looking at the next WNBA dynasty.
I think there's so many ways that I can continue to get better, and I feel like there were so many ways I could have been even better this year. And I think we're used to it. I mean, I think if anything, it probably gives them a little fire. It's like, this is our home crowd. This is our...
They've got the young star in Clark. They're making bold moves in the front office, and they're not afraid to spend in free agency. It's a recipe that could lead to championships or total disaster. One thing's for sure, the Indiana Fever aren't playing it safe anymore. They're going for broke, and it's going to be one hell of a ride. So, the Indiana Fever just pressed the big red button on their future, and it's either going to be brilliant or blow up in their face. They're not messing around anymore. They want championships, and they're willing to risk it all to get there. But here's something wild you might have missed. Lexi Hall, one of the Fever's prospects, just joined this new league called Unrivaled. It's like a testing ground for up-and-coming talent, and it could be a game changer for how the Fever scout and develop players. The next few months are going to be insane for Fever fans. Free agency, the draft, maybe a new coach. It's all happening at once. This team is going all in, and we're about to find out if they've got a royal flush or if they're just bluffing. One thing's for sure, the Indiana Fever aren't here to play it safe anymore. They're here to win it all.